Ever since I got back into reading, I have been adding books to my TBR list left and right. I've been all over BookTube and Book Talk and Goodreads, and it's getting a little bit out of hand. So I thought that I would narrow down my top 5 fiction books that I want to read this year and share them with you guys today. If you watched my BookTube newbie tag, then you know how much I love historical fiction, so most of the books on my top 5 list are historical fiction, although I think I put one book that isn't historical fiction just to add a little bit of variety here, but I just love historical fiction so much and I just can't help myself. The first book is Pachinko. I actually started reading this book a few years ago, but I didn't finish it, so I had to return it to the library, and I just didn't have the attention span at the time or the bandwidth to get through and appreciate a novel like this. But times have changed. I've been really good about sticking to my reading systems and making it more of a habit, so I think that I can finally sit down and tackle this book. So I've pulled up the summary on Goodreads, and in the early 1900s, teenage Sunja, the adored daughter of a crippled fisherman, falls for a wealthy stranger at the seashore near her home in Korea. He promises her the world, but when she discovers she is pregnant and that her lover is married, she refuses to be bought. Instead, she accepts an offer of marriage from a gentle, sticky minister passing through on his way to Japan. But her decision to abandon her home and to reject her son's powerful father sets off a dramatic saga that will echo down through the generations. This one sounds right up my alley because I love stories about families, especially multi-generational families. I feel like I can really relate to these stories. My family moved here from the Philippines back in the 90s before I was born. I didn't really see it when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I definitely realize all of the sacrifices that my parents had to make. They had to leave their country, come to a foreign place, not knowing the language or not knowing that many people here, and starting a new life. And they did all of this so that my sisters and I could have a better life. And I think that this story can really resonate with a lot of other people who have parents who are immigrants. So I think that by reading stories like this, I can understand more what my parents went through and what other immigrant parents and families go through. Another reason why I want to read this book is because I recently went to Japan and I got to go to a pachinko parlor in Tokyo, and it was just like in the show. I mean, there were so many lights and sounds and people, and I was overstimulated, but I did get to experience it, so that was really cool. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. The next book on my list is The Keeper of Hidden Books, and this is another historical fiction. All her life, Zofia has found comfort in 2 things during times of hardship: books and her best friend Janina. But no one could have imagined the horrors of Nazi occupation in Warsaw. As the bombs rain down and Hitler's forces loot and destroy the city, Zofia finds that now books are also in need of saving. I was drawn to this book initially because it takes place during World War II, and that's a period of history that I really like learning about. Even though it was just such a dark time and there were so many horrific, terrible things that happened, I think it's really important to look back on this time period and learn from the people that came before us about what it's like to be resilient and to endure, and how important it is to hope and keep fighting for a better future for us and for the future generations. I also think it's important to preserve these stories and literature and books throughout the years because we can learn so much. So I really love the idea of a story that's set in World War II in a library trying to preserve these books. So I'm really looking forward to this one. The next book is Circe, and it's a fantasy. When I was younger, I was obsessed with Greek mythology. I remember just going to the library and like geeking out on all of the different gods and goddesses, and my favorite was Athena and Artemis. And I'm going to read the little summary right here. In the house of Helios, god of the sun and mightiest of the Titans, a daughter is born. But Circe is a strange child, neither powerful like her father, nor viciously alluring like her mother. Turning to the world of mortals for companionship, she discovers that she does possess power, the power of witchcraft, which can transform rivals into monsters and menace the gods themselves. This sounds so interesting and so cool, and I just am so excited to kind of re-explore Greek mythology and revisit some of these gods that I loved when I was younger. There's just something about gods and mortals living side by side, and just knowing that it'll probably all blow up eventually, so I'm here for the drama. The next book on my list is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and this was actually a book that my friend recommended. We're in the same book club, and she had some really good things to say about this one. So here is the summary. Aging and reclusive Hollywood movie icon icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. But when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique Grant for the job, no one is more astounded than Monique herself. Why her? Why now? Summoned to Evelyn's luxurious apartment, Monique listens in fascination as the actress tells her story. Monique begins to feel a very real connection to the legendary star, but as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways. I was born in Southern California, originally from LA, and I just love all things old Hollywood glamour. So when I was in high school, I was on the prom planning committee, and when we were touring different hotel venues, one of my favorites was the Biltmore Hotel, which is this vintage 1920s hotel built in downtown LA. I remember trying to convince everybody to choose this hotel because we could do this Oscar theme where everybody could dress up in these old Hollywood vintage styles that are just so classic and never go out of style. And it ended up working because we did have our prom there. So I can't wait to read this one. The next book I picked is The Nightingale. And I actually read one of Kristen Hanna's books last month. I read The Four Winds and I just loved that one so much. So I'm really looking forward to reading another one. This one has gotten so many wonderful reviews. So I don't think I'm going to be disappointed. So this book is also set in World War II, just like The Keeper of Hidden Books. And I really loved All the Light We Cannot See, which was set in France during World War II. So I really have high hopes for this one. In a quiet village in France, Vianne says goodbye to her husband Antoine as he heads for the front. She doesn't believe the Nazis will invade France, but invade they do in droves of marching soldiers, in caravans of trucks and tanks, in planes that fill the skies and drop bombs upon the innocent. When a German captain requisitions Vianne's home, she and her daughter must live with the enemy or lose everything. Without food or money or hope, as danger escalates all around them, she is forced to make one impossible choice after another to keep her family alive. This book already sounds like it's going to be really emotional, and I don't know why I keep picking books like this, because the last time I read a Kristen Hanna book, I was just a wreck. And I was so sad. So I guess I just choose these stories because every now and then you just need yourself a good cry and to let it out. And I feel like I'm definitely going to be crying after I read this one. Those are the 5 books that I'm really looking forward to reading this year. So I really want to know if you've already read one of these books, what your thoughts were about them, or if you have any books this year that you really want to read. If you liked this video, then please like, comment, and consider subscribing to my channel if you want to be BookTube friends. And as always, take care of yourself because you deserve it, and I'll see you in my next video.